Good morning, everyone. Lee Henson, president and founder of Agile Dad here. It's time for today's daily stand-up episode. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's hump day. We're halfway through the week. We made it this far. You know, I'm pretty confident at this point that many of you have a lot of work done under your belt and you're looking forward to a great weekend to come. So I wanted to continue this week talking about topics related to coaches and some things that coaches can do to help organizations become more efficient and, you know, to give you some of those lessons that we talked about on Monday that hopefully you will learn and you can take away and do some things with. So today I wanted to focus our attention on work in progress limits or WIP limits, WIP. And, you know, I think the misconception is that a WIP limit only applies when a team is doing Kanban or Kanban, and that it's part of a Lean Six Sigma framework, and that it basically means that no single person can be working on more than a certain number of items at any given time. And while this is an accurate depiction, I want to also point out that this could also be directly related to how many products or services or how many projects you have in motion or in flight at any given time. So I think just like there's WIP limits on backlog items that enter the queue for production members or team members to work on, there should also be some type of, you know, throughput that we're regulating and saying, okay, at the project level, are we not spreading ourselves too thin? Are we taking on the right amount of work? Does what we're doing actually make sense? Are we going to be able to continue to function in the way that we are? And, you know, I think that it's healthy for us to take into consideration that organizations do this differently. You know, you have some organizations that like to, you know, make all of their different initiatives so small in size that they can just rattle through them and, you know, get through them one by one. And I think that's wonderful. But then other organizations, they don't have as many product owners. So they take their product owners and scale them across 6 products, 8 products, 10 products. And they expect that the product owner is going to be able to keep up with all those different products and that they're going to be able to build a certain way. And what I can tell you is that may not be the case, right? You know, product owners are really good at what they do. The problem becomes that product owners need more than just a great backlog to be a great product owner. Product owners need instruction. They need to understand what the work is. But anytime you ask a product owner to bite off more than they can chew, or you're asking teams to take on too many products or services at once, you wind up spreading people too thin. You wind up not getting their highest value out of your product owner. And you end up in a nightmare scenario where you end up with a lot of technical debt and people who are frustrated and not happy about what they're doing and where they're working. So I think that the key here is to initialize and find ways to make certain that the product owner best understands what they are being asked to do when it comes to products and services, and to empower your product owners to use the word no. Now, I want to point out no doesn't mean no never, but no does mean no not right now. And I think that's an okay thing to say. You know, I've been in many organizations where no is frowned upon, and it makes me sad because I believe that no is important and that we need to have some type of way to squelch the amount of information that's being asked for so that we can keep the team's will to live ratio high, so that we can make people happy while they're at work each day and people don't feel like they're working every night overtime and weekends and all these extra things. So I think it's a fair assessment, or fair to say, that WIP limits don't just apply at an individual level with backlog items, but WIP limits apply at the individual level and at the organization level when it comes to projects. So I think that if you understand this conceptually, you can then ask yourself, what can we do to make sure our product owners have a good understanding of WIP limits and that they don't have too many products or services in flight? Then you can also revisit and say, as team members, what can we do to make sure we're honoring WIP and that we're not trying to take on too much work at any given time? And I think that if you look at both of those, individually and say, where are we as an organization and where can we improve, I think that it'll make your backlogs better. The other thing you have to be careful of, though, is that you don't have a ton of outstanding technical debt, and that's a whole other topic. But you want to make certain that if you're trying to figure out, at any given point, a team can be asked to work on enhancements to an existing product, defects that arose from a previous product, and even, new design for new features or products or services that need to be built. They could also be asked to work on innovation. There's so many things that can enter the backlog. So here's my secret sauce. I want you to try to focus on a team backlog instead of, just a solid product backlog. Because I think that if you isolate and say, these teams are going to work on these things, that's going to help you initiate a WIP limit conversation, and it's going to help you keep that flow going. So whether you're honoring the traditional roots of Kanban, or whether you're doing more of a Scrumban approach, or even if you're just doing, a full-on Agile approach, but you want to insert these WIP limits, I feel like this is going to be a tool that's going to help you get your head better around a smaller amount of work, and it's also going to teach you to keep things small in size or scope, so you're not trying to bite off more than you can chew, and that way you can be of service to others who need help within the organization. And I think that's the key. I think sometimes we look at WIP limits and we think that we're getting beaten down with rules when that's not the case at all. A WIP limit is a very positive way for us to regain focus on the things that matter, and for us to get things to market faster with a higher quality, and to make certain that we're honoring the things that should be done in the right order. So it helps us establish an objective rank order as well. So I hope that information was useful. I hope that points you in the right direction. As always, we encourage you to visit agiledad.com, where you can learn more about this topic and other topics. And we encourage you to tell your friends about the Daily Stand-Up. Have them subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.